At 3:17 in the afternoon, Aisha Bennett sat in her silver Toyota Camry with both hands resting high on the steering wheel, the Eastbrook courthouse rising behind her windshield. She still wore her navy scrubs from the hospital, a beige cardigan, over her shoulders, and her badge clipped crooked after a 10-hour shift. Red and blue lights flashed behind her in clean daylight, making people on the sidewalk slow down and look. Officer Brent Rooker stood by her driver's window, one thumb hooked in his belt, his voice calm enough for strangers but sharp enough for her to hear the warning underneath. License and registration. Aisha handed them over carefully. Can you tell me why I was stopped? Tag issue, he said, without looking at the plate. The answer did not match the way he had followed her from the courthouse lot, or the way his partner waited near the rear bumper. Her yellow-cased phone sat in the cup holder. She picked it up, slowly, tapped the Livestream button, and angled it toward the window. I'm recording for my safety, she said. Rooker's eyes moved from her face to the phone, and something in his posture changed completely right away. Put that down, Rooker said. Aisha kept her voice level. I'm not interfering. I'm sitting still. I said put it down. The sidewalk had gone quiet around them. A man with a folder paused near the courthouse steps. Two women outside the pharmacy across the street turned their heads toward the patrol lights. Aisha noticed all of it, because noticing things was how she stayed calm when someone else controlled the room. Her hands stayed visible. The phone remained between her chest and the window, not in his face, not blocking his movement. Officer, I'm allowed to record, she said. I'll follow lawful instructions. Rooker leaned closer, filling the small open space at the window. Step out. For a tag issue, step out of the vehicle. Aisha unbuckled slowly. She placed one sneaker on the pavement, then the other, keeping the phone low at her side. The Livestream showed part of Rooker's uniform, the bright sidewalk, and the courthouse doors behind him. His partner shifted behind her, close enough that Aisha could hear leather creak but not close enough to speak yet. Then, his hand came across the frame. Stop reaching, he snapped, though she had not reached for anything. Rooker's fingers closed around the yellow case. Aisha's grip loosened on instinct, because she did not want to struggle, but he twisted the phone anyway. Damage jumped. The courthouse tilted. For half a second, the camera caught Aisha's open hand, palm empty, before the phone slapped. The sidewalk? The screen spiderwebbed black. Aisha looked down, startled. You broke my phone. Hands behind your back. I didn't do anything. You're resisting. His partner moved in fast. Aisha felt metal close around one wrist, then the other. The cuffs bit into skin, already tired from lifting patients all morning. People watched from the courthouse steps, but no one understood enough to move. A clerk whispered into her phone from the doorway, unsure whether she was filming or calling someone for help. Near the front tire of the Camry, the phone lay face down in a thin strip of shade. The screen looked dead. The yellow case was scuffed. One corner pulsed with a faint heat that no one noticed. Rooker stepped near it, nudging it with the edge of his boot. That's what happens when people don't listen. Aisha was guided toward the patrol car, on the pavement. Her Livestream kept recording. The back seat of the patrol car smelled like old vinyl and hand sanitizer. Aisha sat sideways at first, because the cuffs made it hard to move, then shifted until her knees faced forward. Through the glass, she could still see the courthouse, the pharmacy windows, and her Camry sitting crooked at the curb with the driver's door open. Rooker stood outside with his partner, Officer Mills, holding Aisha's license against his notepad. She grabbed at me, Rooker said. Aisha turned her head. No, I didn't. The glass swallowed most of her voice. Rooker did not look back. She had the phone up, kept refusing. Commands then reached when I tried to secure the scene. Mills said nothing for a moment. He looked toward the sidewalk where the phone had fallen. Aisha watched Rooker's mouth keep moving, slow and certain, as if the report was already being written in the air between them. The strange part was not that he lied. It was how calmly he tested the sentence before it became official. Then, he looked toward the patrol car and said louder, add obstruction, maybe resisting, too. She made it necessary, so make sure that part is clean today. Under the front edge of Aisha's Camry, the yellow-cased phone kept streaming. The picture was mostly darkness, pavement, and a sliver of spinning patrol light reflected in the chrome wheel. But the microphone still worked, and the Livestream chat began filling with confused messages. Naomi Bennett saw it first from her kitchen table, where she had been sorting school forms for Aisha's daughter Layla. The video had frozen sideways, but Rooker's voice came through clear enough to make her sit upright. Why is she in cuffs? Someone typed. Naomi tapped the screen. Aisha, no answer. Another viewer wrote. Screen record this. Naomi did not wait to understand everything. She started recording from her own phone, then called her neighbor, then Aisha's older brother. The stream caught pieces of Rooker's voice, words like obstruction, non-compliant, aggressive movement. Each one sounded less like memory and more like construction. Naomi's hand shook once, but her voice stayed sharp when Layla walked in from the hallway asking why her mother was online. Get your backpack, Naomi said gently. We're going to the station, and do not delete anything, not 1 second of it, until somebody honest hears this. Please keep it safe too. Okay. At the station. Aisha was processed beneath fluorescent lights that made everyone look tired before they spoke. A booking officer asked for her name, date of birth, address, employer, emergency contact. She answered each question plainly, because panic would not help her, and silence would be used against her. What about my daughter? She asked. She gets out at 4. The officer did not look up. You can make a call when we finish. Rooker's report moved faster than she did. By the time her fingerprints were taken, the words had already hardened. Obstruction, resisting, disorderly conduct, the report said. Aisha had ignored commands, moved aggressively, and caused her own phone to fall during the struggle. There was no struggle in her memory, only the sidewalk, his hand, the crack. Hours later, a property clerk slid an evidence bag across a counter. Inside was the yellow case, dusty now, one corner bent. Aisha stared at it. The screen looked dead. Outside. Naomi arrived, breathless, with Layla beside her and a saved clip on her phone. They didn't stop the stream. Naomi, said Aisha. It kept recording after he broke it. I saved the whole thing, right now before anything changes. The police station lobby looked designed to make people tired. Gray chairs lined one wall. A television above the vending machines played muted local news. Behind thick glass, a front desk officer took names without lifting his eyes long enough to remember faces. Naomi stood at the counter with Layla close beside her, the saved Livestream open on her phone. My cousin was arrested outside the courthouse, Naomi said. Officer Rooker broke her phone, but the live kept recording. You need to see this before anybody writes it wrong. The desk officer glanced at the screen for half a second. Complaints go online. This is not just a complaint. You can hear him saying she grabbed him after the phone already hit the ground. Ma'am, I can't review evidence in the lobby. Layla's backpack hung from one shoulder. Shh, stared at the badge on the other side of the glass, then at the phone in Naomi's hand. Naomi lowered her voice. Can you at least write down that we brought it today? The officer paused. He wrote Rooker's name on a sticky note, then folded it under his palm. Like even writing the name down had immediately made him uncomfortable. Aisha came out after sunset, but the building still buzzed with daytime business that had stretched too long. Her scrubs were wrinkled. Her beige cardigan hung unevenly because her wrists ached when she tried to pull the sleeves straight. The cuffs had left 2 red bands against her skin. Layla stepped toward her, then stopped, as if she was afraid touching her mother would hurt. I'm okay, Aisha said, though her voice sounded thinner than she wanted. The property bag was tucked under her arm. Inside it, the yellow phone looked ruined, dusty around the cracked corner, its screen dark and useless. Aisha had signed 3 papers to get it back, and each signature felt like agreeing to a version of the day she did not recognize. Naomi walked them to the parking lot. They wouldn't take the clip. Aisha looked toward the front doors. Through the glass, the desk officer was speaking with another uniformed officer, both of them careful not to look outside. In the Camry, Layla sat quietly behind the booster seat that belonged to Aisha's youngest nephew. No one played music. The silence made the charge papers on Aisha's lap sound louder each time they shifted. At Naomi's apartment, Aisha watched the saved clip with the volume low. The screen showed almost nothing after the fall, just pavement and shadow under the car, but the sound was enough. Stop reaching. You broke my phone. Hands behind your back. Then Rooker's voice, clearer than Aisha expected. She grabbed at me. She had the phone up, kept refusing commands. Aisha replayed that part twice, not because she wanted to hear it again, but because the order of the words mattered. The phone hit first. The accusation came after. Naomi wanted to post everything. Immediately, Aisha understood why. Her own anger sat heavy in her chest, but the hospital had taught her what happened when people rushed. During a crisis, first you stabilized what you could, then you documented. She wrote down the Livestream link, the time of the stop, the booking number, the names Naomi remembered, and every person who had screen-recorded. She placed the broken phone, still sealed in its evidence bag, beside the papers. By midnight, she had one more name. Mara Ellison, attorney. Naomi said Mara had once challenged Eastbrook police over missing bodycam footage. Aisha did not smile, but she finally breathed at last. Mara Ellison's office sat on the 2nd floor above a tax service and a dentist, with tall windows facing the courthouse traffic. It was not the kind of place that tried to look powerful. The chairs were mismatched, the coffee machine was old, and every wall had boxers of files stacked against it. Aisha sat across from Mara with the evidence bag in her lap. Her navy scrubs had been washed, but the beige cardigan still carried a faint crease where the cuffs had pulled it back. She had slept 2 hours and spent the morning calling work, school, and the court clerk, trying to keep one bad afternoon from spreading through her whole life. Mara did not interrupt her. She listened to the stop, the phone, the station lobby, the charges, and the saved Livestream. Then she held out her hand. Let me see the report. Aisha slid the paperwork across the desk. Mara read silently until one line made her stop. The report said Aisha struck Officer Rooker's wrist before the phone fell. Mara looked at the yellow case through the plastic. That sentence, she said, is where we start. Not with outrage. With timing, records, and patience. Mara opened the Livestream file on her laptop and placed the arrest report beside it. She did not play the whole thing at first. She moved in seconds, pausing, rewinding, writing numbers on a yellow legal pad. Here, she said. Aisha leaned forward. The audio caught Rooker saying, "Stop reaching." Then came Aisha's voice, surprised and clear. "You broke my phone." A scrape, a boot step, then the cuffs. Only after that did Rooker tell his partner she had grabbed Edom. Mara tapped the report with her pen. He wrote this like, "Your hand caused the fall," but the recording places the fall before the accusation. Naomi beside Aisha, whispered, "So he made it up after." Mara's face stayed controlled. "Maybe in court. We prove what the records prove. We do not need to read his mind." If the timeline breaks his statement. For the first time since the stop, Aisha felt anger become useful instead of heavy. Mara printed a preservation letter before anyone could leave. Bodycam, dashcam, dispatch, audio, book and video, street cameras, pharmacy footage. Then she signed her name hard enough to press through the page. "Now," she said, "we make them preserve what they control." The pharmacy across from the courthouse still smelled like floor cleaner and warm receipt paper. When Aisha and Mara walked in just after lunch, sunlight hit the front windows. The same windows where customers had stood watching the stop 2 days earlier. The manager, a thin man named Mr. Patel, recognized Aisha. Before she said her name, "You were the woman outside," he said quietly. Aisha nodded. "I'm trying to find out if your cameras saw anything." Mr. Patel looked toward the ceiling, then toward the checkout counter where a black dome camera faced the street. "They may have the angles not perfect. Perfect is not required," Mara said, "only preserved." He took them to a back office crowded with delivery boxers and an old monitor. The footage showed the sidewalk, the Camry's front tire, the patrol car lights, and Aisha stepping from the driver's seat with one hand holding the phone low. The picture did not show every expression, but it showed her body still, not lunging. Mr. Patel hesitated before copying the file. "2 officers came yesterday," he said. "They asked whether the cameras were working that day." Mara's pen stopped moving. Aisha felt the room narrow. Mr. Patel copied the pharmacy footage onto a clean flash drive while Mara watched the progress bar like it was a witness giving testimony. Aisha stood behind them with her arms folded, not from anger, but to keep her hands from touching the evidence. Bag again. Back at the office, Mara placed the video beside the Livestream audio. The camera angle came from across the street, slightly high and slightly wide. It showed the Camry pulled to the curb. Rooker at the window, Aisha stepping out, and her phone low near her waist. Then Rooker moved. The footage blurred at the exact moment his arm crossed in front of her, but it did not show Aisha lunging. It did not show her striking his wrist. It showed her shoulders square, her free hand open, her body still. Mara played the audio over it. "Stop reaching." The phone hit the sidewalk. "You broke my phone. Only." Then came the report building words. Naomi covered her mouth. Mada nodded once. Not completely, but enough to make the official story work harder. Aisha understood what that meant. The truth had not won yet, but it had stopped standing alone in the room. A call from the prosecutor came while Aisha was outside the hospital, sitting in her Camry during a 15-minute lunch break. Her badge hung from the mirror beside the parking tag, and her replacement phone rested on the passenger seat, because she still hated holding it near police lights. The prosecutor spoke politely, almost kindly. "If Ms. Bennett accepts disorderly conduct, the resisting and obstruction charges can be dismissed. No jail, minimal fine, 6 months unsupervised." Aisha repeated the words, so Mara, on speaker, could hear them. "It would close the criminal case quickly," the prosecutor said. "Considering her job, that may be best." Aisha looked through the windshield at nurses crossing the lot in scrubs like hers. Quick sounded tempting. Quiet sounded safe. She had already missed 1 shift. Court dates meant childcare, money, whispers at work. That evening, Layla found the paperwork on the kitchen table. "Would that mean you did what he said?" Aisha did not answer right away. Layla's face tightened. "Why should you apologize? For him breaking your phone?" The question landed harder than the offer. Aisha called Mara back before the dishes were dry. "No plea," she said. "Not for a clean lie today." Mara's next request went beyond Aisha's case. She asked for prior complaints involving Officer Brent Rooker, damaged phones, resisting arrests, after recordings began, missing bodycam footage, any report about force connected to a traffic stop. The city answered slowly and badly. First came a denial, then a partial file, then another file with names blacked out so heavily the pages looked burned. Mara spread them across her conference table and began finding repeated phrases. Subject reached toward officer. Phone became damaged during struggle. Body-worn camera activated after subject secured. Aisha stood beside the table. reading the same language over and over until the words no longer felt like coincidence. Mara circled 3 cases. One involved a college student outside a bus station, another, a delivery driver, another, a grandmother stopped near a school pickup line. Different people, different days, same clean sentence structure. This does not prove he lied in every case, Mara said, but it proves your case is not floating by itself. Naomi leaned forward. So what now? Mara opened a new motion. We ask for metadata, not just video. We ask when the camera turned on, when it muted, when it uploaded, and who touched. The department produced Rooker's bodycam footage on a Thursday morning, 3 days before the first hearing. Mara called Aisha and Naomi to her office, then played it on the wall monitor without saying what she expected. The video began with Aisha already in cuffs. She stood beside the patrol car, breathing hard but quiet, while Rooker told her to stop, making things worse. His voice sounded controlled. His uniform looked neat. From that point forward, the footage made him seem almost patient. Aisha felt cold move through her chest. That is not the beginning. She said. No, Mara answered. It is not. The file showed nothing from the window. Nothing from the phone. Nothing from the moment Rooker stepped close. Nothing from the second the screen cracked black against the sidewalk in the report. The fall mattered. In the released video, it did not exist. Naomi stood up. They just cut out the whole part. Mara held up one hand, not to calm her down, but to keep the room focused. They released a segment, she said. Now we ask why the segment begins after the most important moment. This time, the missing seconds had a number and a witness. The audit log arrived late Friday afternoon, buried under a document title that made it sound useless. Device activity report, upload status, access history. Mara read it once, then again, then called Aisha before the office lights flickered on. His camera was active earlier, she said. Aisha sat on the edge of her bed, still in her work sock. How much earlier? Before you stepped out of the car. For a moment, Aisha heard only the hum of her refrigerator down the hall. Mara explained carefully. The device had powered on during the stop. The storage log showed a longer recording existed before the clipped version was uploaded. Someone selected a shorter file for disclosure. The log did not say why. It did not show motive. But it proved. The department's first production was incomplete. Court reporter Daniel Price noticed the filing the same morning. Mara submitted it. Naomi had not blasted the full video online. Mara had not made wild accusations. The public document simply said the city released footage that did not match its own camera log. That was enough. By afternoon, the courthouse hallway had whispers. By evening, Rooker's name was being spoken outside the police station. Sergeant Dale Kincaid called Mara just after 9 the next morning, when sunlight was still spreading across the blinds in her office. His voice had the careful patience of a man trying to sound reasonable for a record he hoped did not exist. Counselor, I think everyone is getting ahead of themselves. Mara put him on speaker with Aisha's permission and opened a fresh page of notes. Kincaid said the missing opening might be a technical issue. He said officers worked under stress. He said Aisha could spare herself unnecessary pressure if she stopped letting people try the case online. Aisha sat across from Mara, hands folded around a paper cup of coffee. She had not posted once. She had not given interviews. Still, the warning was being placed at her feet. Mara wrote every phrase down. My client has complied with every court order, she said. If the department has complete footage, preserve it and produce it. Kincaid paused. That tone will not help her. Mara looked at Aisha, then back at the phone. Evidence will help her, she said. After the call ended, Aisha exhaled for the first time. The pressure felt like proof that someone was worried. The suppression hearing began at 9:12 on a bright Tuesday morning, in a courtroom where sunlight came through high windows and made the polished benches look warmer than the room felt. Aisha sat beside Mara in the same beige cardigan, her navy scrubs replaced by a plain dark blouse because Mara had told her court should never give anyone an excuse to misunderstand her. Officer Brent Rooker took the stand with his uniform pressed clean and his hands folded neatly when he swore to tell the truth. He did not look nervous. That bothered Aisha more than if he had. The prosecutor asked him to explain the stop. Rooker said the tag appeared irregular. He said Aisha became argumentative. He said she held the phone close to his face and refused several commands to lower it. Then, with a steady voice, he said she moved her hand toward his wrist during a tense moment. I secured her for safety, he said. The judge wrote something down. Aisha felt Layla's absence like a small mercy. Her daughter did not need to hear a lie sound that official. Then Mara stood. Officer, she said, let's talk about the order of events. Mara did not start with anger. She started with distance. How far was Ms. Bennett from you when she exited the vehicle? Close, Rooker said. Close is not a measurement. 2 feet, maybe? Mara nodded, as if the answer helped him. And the phone was in which hand? Right hand? Right? Yes. Near your face? Rooker held his palm near his chest, high enough to interfere. Mara walked back to the table and clicked the laptop. The courtroom speakers gave a soft pop. Then Aisha heard her own voice from the pavement. "I'm recording for my safety." Rooker's command followed. "Stop reaching." Then the crack of the phone hitting concrete. Aisha's voice came next, startled. "You broke my phone." Only after that did the recording catch Rooker telling Mills. She grabbed at me. The courtroom went still in the way rooms do, when everyone understands the same problem at once. Mara let the silence sit. "Officer," she said, "is it your testimony that Ms. Bennett grabbed you before the phone fell?" Rooker shifted. "Not much, but enough. It was a fast situation," he said. Things overlapped very quickly. Mara looked at the judge. "Then let's slow it down together now." The pharmacy footage filled the courtroom monitor in afternoon colors. The picture was not dramatic. There was no perfect close-up, no movie angle, no face frozen in guilt. Just a wide view of a public sidewalk, Aisha's Camry, 2 patrol cars, and people pausing because something felt wrong. Mara played it once without sound. Aisha stepped from the car. Her phone stayed low. Her shoulders did not jerk forward. Her free hand stayed open. Rooker moved into her space. Then the phone dropped. Mara played the same clip again with the Livestream audio underneath it. This time, video and broken sound joined into one clean timeline. The judge leaned back. "Counsel, has the state produced all body-worn camera footage from the start of this encounter?" The prosecutor looked toward Rooker, then toward a folder that suddenly seemed too thin. "We produced what was provided to our office, Your Honor." "That is not what I asked." Rooker stared straight ahead, jaw tight. The prosecutor requested a recessed dot in the hallway. Rooker walked past Mara without looking at Aisha. His public face was still there, but now it had effort behind it. Aisha saw that effort and understood the case had moved. During the recess, the courthouse hallway filled with low voices and careful glances. Aisha stood near the window with Naomi, holding a paper cup she had not sipped from. Across the hall, Rooker spoke with the prosecutor and Sergeant Kincaid, their shoulders angled inward like a closed door. Mara's phone buzzed. She read the message. Once then stepped closer to Aisha. "It's another defense attorney," she said. "We saw the filing." Aisha already knew from Mara's tone that this was not casual interest. The attorney represented a young delivery driver arrested by Rooker 6 months earlier. The report said the driver reached toward an officer during a traffic stop. The driver said Rooker knocked his phone from his hand. The bodycam footage began only after he was cuffed. Aisha looked back across the hall. Rooker was nodding as if everything was under control. "How many?" Naomi whispered. "One that we know right now," Mara said. "We treat it carefully." Aisha deeply appreciated that. Being careful meant they would not turn pain into rumor. Still, the hallway felt different after the message. Her case no longer seemed like one afternoon gone wrong. It felt like the afternoon someone finally kept proof. Next week, the city prosecutor's office reviewed Rooker's pending cases. Nobody announced it. No press conference. No apology. Just quiet calendar changes, delayed hearings, and emails sent before sunrise. Not a notice because 2 motions used the same phrase she had seen in Aisha's report. Subject reached toward officer, a delivery driver, a student near the bus station, a grandmother stopped near a school pickup lane. Different names, same shape. Aisha learned about it in pieces, during phone calls between shifts and school pickups. She did not feel triumphant. She felt disturbed. Every new case made her imagine a person sitting in a car, trying to stay calm while a report was built around them. The court ordered the department to produce the full audit trail, including original file length, access times, upload activity, and any internal notes attached to Rooker's camera. Then Kincaid's name appeared in the access log. He had reviewed the original bodycam file before the shortened segment reached the prosecutor. Mara read that line aloud twice. Not because it answered everything, because it changed the question. Now, the issue was no longer just what Rooker did on the sidewalk. It was who helped make the sidewalk disappear. The production arrived in a digital folder with names that sounded harmless. Administrative, export, device sync, evidence, review. But inside those files, the quiet damage had dates, minutes, and users attached. Rooker's original bodycam file was longer than the version given to the prosecutor. The opening minutes had not vanished. They had been flagged, reviewed, clipped, and uploaded as a shorter disclosure file after Kincaid accessed it. Mara warned Aisha not to jump past what the records proved. "It does not say why," she said. "It says what happened." For Aisha, that was enough to change the air. The department had asked people to trust the clean version. The records showed someone had handled the dirty one first, Daniel Price. The court reporter published an article that afternoon. He did not call Rooker guilty. He did not call Aisha innocent in dramatic terms. He wrote that court records showed a mismatch between officer testimony, citizen video, pharmacy footage, and bodycam access logs. By 5 o'clock, the mayor's office said it was monitoring the matter. By 6, Rooker was placed on desk duty. By morning, the prosecutor withdrew the plea offer and asked the judge for time to reassess every charge. 2 weeks later, Aisha returned to court in daylight, walking through the same courthouse door she had seen from the curb when the patrol lights flashed behind her. This time, no officer stood over her window. No one told her to put her phone down. Mara walked beside her with a file folder under one arm, and Naomi sat behind them with Layla. The courtroom was fuller than before. Daniel Price sat in the press row. 2 attorneys Aisha did not know whispered near the back. Sergeant Kincaid was not there. Rooker was but out of uniform, wearing a gray suit that made him look less powerful and more ordinary than expected. The prosecutors stood when the case was called. Your Honor, after further review, the state moves to dismiss all charges against Ms. Bennett. Aisha heard the words, but for a second they did not reach any place inside her that believed them. The prosecutor continued, citing evidentiary concerns, inconsistencies in the arrest narrative, and unresolved disclosure issues. Regarding body-worn camera footage, the judge looked at Aisha. Ms. Bennett, the charges against you are dismissed. Naomi covered her mouth. Aisha stayed still, because relief needed somewhere safe to land. The judge did not let the room empty quickly. I am also referring the disclosure matter to the appropriate review authorities, he said. Court is concerned by the sequence of production, the testimony offered, and the handling of material evidence. Rooker's attorney rose halfway, then sat when the judge raised one hand. This court is not making findings beyond today's record, the judge said. But today's record is serious. Mara's pen moved across her pad. Aisha recognized the motion in her wrist. Documentation. Always documentation. Outside the courtroom. Reporters gathered near the hallway windows. Their questions came at Aisha too quickly. Did she feel vindicated? Did she think Rooker should be charged? Was she planning to sue the city? Aisha looked at Mara, who gave the smallest nod. I wanted to go home that day, Aisha said. I wanted to pick up my daughter. I wanted my phone not to be broken and my name not to be turned into a charge. The hallway quieted. I'm grateful the truth had somewhere to go, she said. But nobody should need a live stream from the pavement to be believed. Mara touched her elbow gently. The civil claim would come next. Carefully. In the parking lot, sunlight bounced off windshields and made everyone squint. Aisha walked to the Camry slowly, aware of the courthouse behind her and the reporters keeping distance, now that Mara had asked them to. Layla reached the car first and opened the back door, then stopped when she saw the old booster seat still buckled there. Ma, she said quietly. Are you really done? Aisha looked down at the dismissal papers in her hand. The pages were white, stamped, folded at the corner. Nothing about them looked strong enough to undo what had happened. Still, they did what the charges had done to her name in reverse. They entered something else into the record. Yes, Aisha said. With this part, Naomi handed her the evidence bag from Mara's file box. Inside was the yellow phone case. Scraped and bent, the dead screen still cracked across the front. Aisha held it up in the sun. For weeks, it had looked like what Rooker destroyed. Now it looked like what he failed to silence. Mara closed the file box. Next, she said, we make sure this was not free for them. Aisha nodded, but her eyes stayed on the phone. Official consequences arrived slowly, the way the system always moved when it was correcting itself instead of accusing someone else. First, Rooker was placed on administrative leave. Then the department announced an internal review into forced reporting, bodycam, disclosure, and evidence handling. The words sounded dry on television, but Aisha understood every one of them. Now, 3 older cases were dismissed within a month. 2 more were reopened. The delivery driver's attorney called Mara to say his client had cried in the courthouse bathroom after hearing the news. Not from weakness, but because someone finally believed. The part he had repeated for months. Rooker did not confess. He did not stand at a microphone and explain himself. He fought the findings, blamed confusion, blamed camera systems, blamed the speed of the stop, but the review found policy violations tied to his report, his handling of Aisha's phone, and the incomplete body cam disclosure. Sergeant Kincaid was demoted pending a separate disciplinary process. When Rooker was terminated, the city's statement used careful language. Aisha read it at her kitchen table. It was not poetry, it was not healing, but it was official. And for once, info did not belong only to him. The civil case settled before trial. Mara explained every line before Aisha signed, including money, policy changes, and the sentence requiring supervisors to certify full body cam disclosure in resisting and obstruction arrests. Aisha listened more carefully too. That sentence, then to the settlement number. Money could replace missed wages. It could cover therapy sessions for Layla, repair the Camry's scratched door, and buy a new phone that did not make Aisha's stomach tighten every time she held it near a courthouse. But the policy sentence meant someone else's footage might not disappear so easily. Aisha bought the new phone on a Saturday afternoon. The clerk offered her a bright case from a display near the register. Yellow, almost the same shade as the broken one. Layla saw Aisha pause. You don't have to get that color, she said. Aisha smiled faintly. I know. At home, She placed the broken yellow case in a drawer with her dismissal papers, the settlement copy, and the hospital badge she had worn that day. Layla watched from the doorway. Why keep it? Aisha closed the drawer halfway. Because it reminds me that broken does not always mean useless, she said. Sometimes it means evidence. That summer, Aisha walked past the Eastbrook courthouse again in clear evening light. Not because she had to appear, not because a notice had come in the mail. She was meeting Naomi for dinner nearby, and the shortest route took her along the same sidewalk where the phone had fallen. The curb looked smaller, without patrol cars around it. People moved in and out of the courthouse, carrying folders, coffee, parking tickets, ordinary worries. Across the street, Mr. Patel's pharmacy windows reflected the sun. The dome camera above the register was still there. Quiet and watchful, Aisha stopped beside the place where her Camry had been pulled over. For a moment, she could almost hear Rooker's voice, the crack of the screen, the cuffs closing. Then a bus sighed at the corner, and the memory loosened. Her new phone rested in her purse. Layla was safe. Her name was clear. The truth had not arrived loudly. It had stayed alive under a car recording from the pavement, waiting for honest hands to carry it forward. And when hidden truth resists power has to answer. For more stories like this, stay with Court of Karma, where justice always finds its voice.